Hey Acers, and welcome to This Week in Role Playing with Ace Role Playing Games Club. I'm your host, Mason Emerson, and I am glad to have you here. I probably better pull my microphone up front closer because that's what all the cool podcasts do, right? I want to try and become a cool podcast. Anyway, welcome to this week's episode, and I'm glad to have you here with me, and I'm glad to be sharing my thoughts and feelings about role-playing gaming, the wonderful thing that it is, and the ability to be able to be a game master and help share a story with you, my players, and with helping other game masters to be able to share their stories. Our Fallout campaign's just about getting ready to go. It'll probably start this coming Tuesday at the Mythos Games Store. So that means that a couple of the people that are in current campaigns are probably going to drop out to come over and join that. But that being said, I'm really excited to just take a few moments today. And actually, I should probably call this one a very special episode because we're going to talk about something that could be slightly uncomfortable, but it's something that I think needs to be discussed for not only the sake of Ace, but for my sake and for your sake. It is something that I've had it up to here, and I'm tired of this kind of discussion coming around. So let's just call this on the carpet. Role-playing gaming, in my experience, is the most inclusive, sweetest, kindest, best way to spend time with friends. Yes, sometimes, especially in a club setting, we will have friends that can tax our table. And we would hope that we could, by being good friends to them, help coach them into a place where we want them to be. Which is why I like Savage Worlds also, because, hey, you give a Benny and you've just rewarded them for taking the time to try and think about the fun of everybody else at the table. That's what Bennies are for. That's what gaming is for. We are trying to reward ourselves for having been good friends to each other. And even if it's in a con setting, we're all going to become fast friends by the end of it. I would hope. Now, there are people out there who want to screw things up for the sake of screwing things up, and that's not fair and that's not right. But that's not the point of gaming. So I'm going to reach up here and adjust my camera just a little bit, try and get a little bit better angle. I am also going to be including some thoughts that I've written down here just so I can kind of keep my thoughts together. But see, I thoroughly have loved my time in gaming. I've met some of the coolest people I've ever met, and I've met some of the sweetest people I've ever met, and I've met some of the nicest people I've ever met in my life. And some of those people have become lifelong friends. That's my purpose in gaming. It saved my life when I was a teenager. I think I told you guys that. But let me talk about that. I started out as the kid that was bullied, the kid that was pushed around, tripped, and pushed. And just, I mentioned push, but yeah, I got pushed a lot. I mean, the only reason why I wasn't the full-on target of every bully in the school is because there was one other kid who was the stinky kid. And he pooped in the classroom one time. I felt bad for him. And I wished I could have done something for him. But there were things outside of my control as a first grader. But unfortunately, someone who was very important to me gave me a wrong paradigm by which to try and live my life. And I tried to live my life all the way through high school with it, and even into my mission. And I'll get to that in a second. But I tried to live by the mantra of if somebody doesn't like you, you make them like you. And the person who gave that to me was wrong. They were completely wrong, and I'm going to try and shield their identity, but they gave me a paradigm that set me up for failure. Because, first of all, let me just start with that. If somebody doesn't like you for who you are, as a fellow human being on this planet, here to sit down at a table and play a role-playing game with them, then they're not worth your time. Nor are you worth wasting your time on them. You're worth more than that. Anybody who would criticize you or hurt you or harm you just because of who you are, just because of unalterable human traits that you have, they're not worth your time. Stand up and walk away. Find someone else to play with. Go find a few people who are sitting around and play Space Team. Whatever. But you need to not let those people get into your head or into your life. And that's what I did. I let those people get into my head and into my life, and it kind of made me an outcast. I didn't realize how much of an outcast I was. I thought I was trying to be one of the cool kids. And like when I turned 16 and I was getting ready to start dating, and I started asking the cutest cheerleader out that was in my seminary class and my AP biology class, and she's like, "Sure, yeah, I'd go out with you." Probably in the back of her head, she's going, "Not in a million years, but I'll say it to your face." I don't know. She was probably actually a really nice girl. I just never got the chance because I didn't even have a car at 16. Sheesh, I didn't even get access to a car of my own until after my mission. Coming back to that again in a minute. So, this made it so I was forced to make lots of people my friends. And those people specifically were the outcasts and the weirdos. I didn't realize how much of a weirdo I was, but I was one. I was a total weirdo. I'm still a weirdo now, but hey, I've embraced it. I know who I am. I know what I am, and I know that I don't care if you don't like me because I like me. And that, my friends, is exactly what role-playing gaming has been a key component in becoming that person that I am today. So my friends that I was initially, I thought in my back of my mind, they were kind of some of the people that nobody else wanted to hang with, but I tell you what, I love those people still. I don't see some of them now. Some of them have passed on. And I miss those people. But I'm so grateful for them. I'm grateful to have had them in my life for the time that I had them. And they're still some of my best friends. And we had a lot of fun. I mean, my one buddy, Bjorn, he didn't have too many other friends, and I didn't have too many other friends, but we became best friends. And Bjorn and I sat in his basement, his unfinished basement in his house there in Lehigh, and we made character after character after character in Champions. And then when I finally got my first role-playing game, because it took me a lot to save up to get Tales from the Floating Vagabond. Let's see, did I buy that first? No, I bought Rifts first, and then bought Tales from the Floating Vagabond. And Tales was awesome. But yeah, we made a ton of characters for that too. That was really our role-playing sessions, was making characters, maybe playing some Master of Orion 2, maybe playing some Warhammer 40K. We played that for a bit in high school, but ultimately we did end up expanding and grabbing in some of the other new kids and finding other people who played role-playing games just like us. And then I made my first grown-up friends. My first grown-up friends came from gaming, and they were only not much older than me. I was 18 pushing 19. And these kids were 20, 21, 22, but they were the UVSC, the Utah Valley State College, which has now UVU, Utah Valley University, but they were the role-playing game club there. And I went down, and I had been exposed already to some World of Darkness stuff, and they were playing Mage the Ascension. And I played with them, and there were some great friends there. I don't have contact with one of them now, but I miss them though. And I mean, after my mission, I would have dated the crap out of Flounder Goldstein had I been able to find her. She was awesome. But I also they came when I went on, because I served a 2-year mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And on that mission, I had some good companions who were also gamers. And oh, wow, did Elder Hardy and I buy magic cards? We bought a whole box of Ice Ages cards. And he got the Jester's Cap, but I got some other cool stuff out of it that I still have. I still have some of those cards. And out in New York on my mission, I got to go to Manhattan and go to a game store there where they helped me build a red slide deck that I still have basically almost in the same configuration that I built it in 1996. And then, I modified it a little bit after my mission, especially because that's what so I'll get to that in a moment. But what happened though is that mission changed me a great deal. I had grown up a small town boy who didn't really know much of anything and who was raised by just the culture and the attitude there, thinking that it was okay to tell racist jokes and things like that. I learned so much. I don't tell them anymore now because I learned to love people for being people, not for the content of the melanin in their skin, not for what they identify as, nothing like that. I love people because they are all children of God to me. I got to go to Kansas City. I got to go to Southern California, Orange County, and I got to go to New York City, the lesser parts, as some people might call it. I didn't actually serve in Manhattan or the Bronx, but I served in Brooklyn, Queens, Staten Island, and Long Island. I was there. I ate the pizza. I ate the knish. I missed the knish. But and the pizza was amazing. Absolutely. Or the pie. Yeah, I mean, you had a pie when you were in New York. That's what you got. You walked in off the street and said, hey, I'd like to get an 18-inch pie. And that's what you got. It was great. And so were some of the many other foods that I had there. I came back, and that's when some old friends of mine that I had heard about talking about Dungeons and Dragons and things like that when I was like 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, doing theater at Valley Center Playhouse in Linden. And some of these friends became friends again because I started doing theater at Valley Center again. And one of them invited me to join him for learning martial arts and to join him to play another Mage of the Ascension game. And I loved it. That was so great. I played with him and some of his other adult friends. One of his friends had just come back from serving in the Army. I mean, it was fun. It was one of the most fun storyline campaigns that I've ever gotten into, and I love the character that I played in that. Still, he's one of my favorite characters of all time. And then I kind of, as I got into college life and I got going, I didn't play very much, and then I got married and my wife still encouraged me to play some. I put together a couple other groups and they just kind of managed to either fizzle or get pirated by somebody else. But that's fine. In those times, and going back down to Lehigh after my mission to play role-playing games with the way that Bjorn had merged with another group from Lehigh High School, and that group had merged with one of our older friends, Matt, who'd merged with them, and just kind of a bunch of mergers happened, and so I came back to join that group. And then I was there to be the big brother as these guys eventually went on their missions. And I was hanging out with them, and we lost a friend there. That was where I lost one of the closest people that I've ever known. And he had a problem, and a reaction to Accutane that was pretty common for a lot of people, and it was really too bad. And we lost that friend. We laid him to rest. And several years later, Ryan Ferber, who was the best of us, went to serve his mission. And we didn't know that his heart was weak. He seemed to pass all the physical exams and everything, but a virus had gotten into his heart when he was a child, and his heart was weak. And it had taken him so long just to get back to that point. And then suddenly he was playing racquetball out in St. Louis with his companion. He stopped and said, I don't feel so good. And he dropped, stroke and a heart attack right there. And so at the second funeral of that Lehigh group, which was kind of the end of that Lehigh group, my wife looked at me and said, you guys have already done this too many times. And we had at that point. Putting young men in the ground is not a fun experience, but it was because of the gaming group, though, that we went back to Pacer's house afterwards, and we drank Mountain Dew and Dr. Pepper and listened to Mighty Mighty Boss Tones and shared time with the friends that we still had with us. And we were able to hug each other and share with each other the grief that we were feeling and work through that grief. And that Lehigh group kind of crumbled apart, but there's still some people from that Lehigh group that I consider more than family. And I would do anything for them. Finally, that Lehigh group also is where I found out that some people that I knew were gay. I found out some people I knew were liberal. I found out some people I knew were conservative. I found out that most of the people there were straight. And you know what? None of it mattered. I started going to conventions during that time too. And guess what? None of it mattered. What you are, other than a human being and a fellow traveler in this life, what you feel is your big thing, it really does not affect me as long as you are at the table to play the game with me. I have loved all of my companions in the adventures that I've been in. I've loved sharing the table with some amazing, amazing people. And I've loved sharing the table with people who are just there to play and have fun. My personal political and spiritual beliefs don't ever come up at the table. And that's because they don't need to. We are here to love each other, to share this 4 hours or more with each other. I mean, goodness knows, I did step on D4s in Jeremy's carpet in the middle of the night because we had fallen asleep or just gone to sleep right as the sun was coming up on those Saturday mornings after we got gaming on Friday nights. Oh, it was great. But I seriously and thoroughly love my fellow players and my fellow gamers. I love you. That's why I do this channel. Whatever you are, whoever you are, that does not offend me. Come be my friend at the table and share an adventure with me. I do love you, and I'm grateful that you are in my life and that you're here for me to tell this to. I really do hope to see you at my table. Stick around. It gets better. Until next time, this is Mason Emerson from the Ace Role Playing Games Club channel, signing off.